Hello everyone, welcome back to Just Invest Today, and today we're talking about Alibaba's dual listing. It's going to be a primary listing on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. This is incredibly important because it's going to allow for mainland Chinese investors actually to get into Alibaba. So we're going to see a lot of incoming cash going into Alibaba, and this is all leading up to an amazing bull run for Alibaba going into the future. We're seeing the blooming of the business, and this is getting back on track and what Joe is saying about the Alibaba business. So let's get into this article. There's so much important news coming from Alibaba. Let's get into it right now. Alibaba's Hong Kong listed shares could be ready for mainland buyers via Stock Connect by September 9th, Morgan Stanley says. The e-commerce giant is likely to see up to $12 billion of inflow from mainland investors in the 6 months after its primary listing in Hong Kong. So a $12 billion influx in Alibaba shares is an amazing amount when you think about it. That's already 6% inflow. That's going to probably consistently rise up as a lot of people are going to feel more comfortable investing in Alibaba during that time, especially with a lot of conflict going on between USA and China. So maybe a lot of investors are going to be way more comfortable buying into Alibaba. Primary way of people are buying Alibaba is like 80%, or even like it's around 70 to 80% from the US stock listing. So not a lot of people are buying into the Hong Kong listing. It's a secondary option. So as Alibaba actually goes into the primary listing, we might see a more even split between Hong Kong and USA, which is amazing because if you think about it, Tencent is like the opposite. It's an OTC company. It's a lot more on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. That's how a lot of inflows from Tencent come up. But for Alibaba, it's pretty much the opposite. It's all the US market because that's where its main listing is. So you're going to see a lot more ownership in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange for Alibaba. I think that's going to increase the stock price very significantly, and people are kind of underestimating how much mainland investors want to invest in Baba, as it's going to seem more safe. And we already know that Chinese investors are really like risk averse. Like they don't even invest in equities at all. Compared to the US, Chinese investors are not investing in equities. They're more like rental properties, more housing, more like gold. They want to keep their money safe. They're more net savers compared to like any other country. So for them to actually have a mainland listing is very, very key for them. Up to $12 billion of investment from mainlanders is likely in the first 6 months after the e-commerce giant joins the Stock Connect scheme, which will bring their ownership of Alibaba to around 7%. If approved, the completion of the listing process at the end of August implies that the first day of so-called southbound trading could be as early as September 9th. The US bank said the southbound channel of Stock Connect program refers to the buying and selling of shares in Hong Kong by mainland investors. The main reason for us to proceed with this dual listing is because we want to tap into the southbound capital flows through the Stock Connect program, Joe Tsai, co-founder of the chairman of Alibaba, said in an interview. And while they tap into that market, people are literally forgetting that the RMB that they get from their main e-commerce giant Tibao and Tmall, they're going to be able to use that money now to invest in buybacks instead of always converting their US dollars to buy back stock. Compare this to Tencent. Look what Tencent does. Tencent has been buying stock like every day, like 1 billion here, 1 billion there, because they just use their RMB. They don't have to convert all that money because their US listing is just the OTC market. The primary listing is in Hong Kong. So that's what is going to be so incredible for Alibaba. They're going to be able to use that 60 billion plus of the RMB to actually buy back stock, which is going to be so significant for Alibaba. So I'm super excited. I'm honestly thinking about buying more shares into Alibaba before this huge run up in stock price, as mainland investors are going to be able to buy into this company starting from like around September 9th or later on. So we're just coming off a quarter with around 8 to 9% growth of revenue. What do you think is going to happen in this next quarter, man? I think it's going to be a phenomenal Q2 for Alibaba. I'm super excited to see the results coming in. There's a lot of good news surrounding Alibaba this time. It's not all this bad news that we're used to for Alibaba when it's talking about the property sector, when it's talking about Jack Ma, whatever it is. We're seeing positive news coming out of Alibaba now. So let's hope that 2024 is actually really good for Alibaba, guys. Like and subscribe to this video. Peace.